Oh, hey, what's up? I mean, afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon.
Right on time.
Right, we are right on time, aren't we? We were right there.
Close
I think that clock's a little fast. We're gonna go with that.
Yeah. Whatever.
I
Yeah.
think it's 2:00.
It is 2 o'clock somewhere.
Yes, it is.
Right here.
And we're back.
Hey, how's your Cinco de Mayo?
Oh yeah.
Kieran is Hispanic, right?
Oh yeah, it's absolutely Mexican. I was actually my family was part of the revolution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Maybe on the wrong side.
It's La Revolución.
My bad.
If you're going,
Yeah.
I mean, come on. You know, you wouldn't have salt on the rim of your margaritas if they'd had one.
No salt. No salt. There was big grains of salt. I can do movie quotes too. Okay. All right. You don't have a lock on that. All right.
Wasn't quoting them.
I know, but I had the opportunity to do so, and I took it.
Do whatever you want. You are also part of this podcast.
Yes.
So I know.
On the bottom half, I get it, but still, yeah, I get it.
It doesn't seem like much.
Yeah.
But there's a Donnie in Doc and Donnie,
Yeah.
and that's you. So
Should have went to school longer, I guess.
well, you would have a lot more student loan.
Well,
I don't know.
oh, that's not the fun part to talk about.
Yeah.
What's going on? Yeah, cool. Yeah. So my Cinco de Mayo was how most married 40-year-old men were done at home. So
That's fair.
Yeah.
I had a margarita with my wife. That's pretty much it.
we celebrated the day before. We went out on the boat, went to the islands, and had that. So that was our Cinco de Mayo. Brought one of our trainers out with us. Brought the kids. Had a good time. I'm trying to do that now with every couple months or so. Bring the trainers from the gym out there, some friends like that, and just kind of have some camaraderie amongst everybody and have a good time. Seeing how Florida is like 9 months of hot summer, we get plenty of time to go out on the water.
Yeah. Go. Yes.
It is early May, and I looked at the bay temperature is already at 83 or 84 degrees.
It was in the 70s last week.
Yeah, it's
that's
in the
how
80s already.
that's how
Mhm.
effing hot it's getting in that short period of time.
Yep.
Is that it's warming up almost as fast as my hot tub warms.
Correct. It's about to be bath water by next month.
Yeah. So and that's before we pee in it.
That's before we... Hey, there is no pee in this pool, okay? All right?
I had a friend growing up. They had a pool, and it was that sign, but it was the biggest one of those signs that I've ever seen. It was legitimately like 5 feet long, and it was like, all right, we
No
get it.
pee in the ool.
Okay, yeah, there's no pee in this ool, and like, of course, I just peed more.
Now I just want to pee more.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't think people understand psychology the way we do, I guess. Like, don't tell me to do something. Now, I didn't want to do it before.
Right, now I
Now I
do.
do. Yeah.
I'm going to
Gonna
make
do it.
sure that I
I'm
do
going
it.
to smile at the sign while I do it, too. Anyway, we're not talking about peeing in the pool today, kids.
We are talking about kids.
We are talking about kids. You like that?
Yeah. Legally, in a legal manner, you can. It's this is safe for
Yeah.
TV. Yeah. I guess we're done segueing. We're done.
let's go ahead.
That was quick. That was the fastest
I know.
one. It was like 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Normally we sit here and we BS for 10 minutes before we get into it. But
We're here.
As you were saying before, we have no trouble filling up 30 minutes.
Keeping it to 30 minutes.
30
yeah.
minutes. It's our issue.
We have trouble keeping people watching the show. Maybe there's a correlation between our 10 minutes of BS
I
and
disagree. I think if you look at the metrics, they probably just shut it off once we start talking
once we
about
start nerding out.
actual scientific stuff.
We need to just like straight up Pat McAfee this stuff and talk about nothing but just anything but the topic.
Yeah. Well, that's because he's got 4 hours to kill.
Right.
So
That's true.
Yeah.
He has that much time to kill, and somehow
somehow he does it.
daily.
Yeah. With guests.
I know.
With guests too.
Good
and
stuff.
and somehow they never actually talk about sports. It's
Right.
really
Nothing but sports.
it's pretty impressive.
It is.
Well, we are here we're going to talk about sports. We're going to talk about youth sports, youth athletes, and this was kind of I wanted to kind of I don't want to say redo, but if you go back in the old archives, we actually did about 29, 30-ish episodes before we rebooted here live, and we talked about this on some level. We have changed somewhat our little format here to some degree, where I don't have my laptop in front of me, and I'm not researching in the moment.
It's up here.
It is. It's all up here. Yeah, That's why I don't have any hair. So this keeps expanding. And yeah, but anyway, I just wanted to kind of go back over some of these things because I think that they're important that we touch base. Plus, it's been a few years since we talked about it.
And this one is important given the time frame we're coming up on, whereas this tends to be more of the off season for high school and middle school athletes, that kind of stuff. So
yeah, we're moving into summer, and so yeah, we're moving to the summer, which is where a lot of kids, and we talk a lot about all age populations. You know, since we be old, we talk about us old folks a lot, but there are people younger than us. Believe it or not, there are people younger than us, and they train as well, and they oftentimes have a lack of supervision when they're training, or they may be working with a coach that they presume knows what they're doing. and we wanted to talk about a variety of things when it comes to youth athletes and weight training, strength training, and you know we have a few things to kind of touch on. We'll talk about A, is it safe? B, you know, what should you look for in a coach? And C, like what kind of training should youth athletes be doing? Yeah, I don't know. I'll just kind of, I'll turn it over to you. You can start talking about whatever you want to talk about.
all right. Well, yeah. So I'm going to focus on more of the, I guess the gym lifting aspect of it. And keep in mind when we talk about gym lifting, that isn't guaranteed to be your stereotypical bro stuff. We're talking about just supplemental training to any type of sports, or if you're just talking about someone who's looking to start to get in shape early and utilize a lot of their hormones that are running through their body at a younger age. So yeah, I always talk about this, and I'm sure you've heard this before from me a lot of stuff. I always hear people talking about it's too young for people to train with resistance. Mm-hmm. And I always go back to, let's go back and look at the NFL draft and see where do most of the offensive guards come from. I would say probably like the center of the country, Iowa, Nebraska, these yeah. Midwest. Yeah. You know, mm-hmm. And these guys are like 6'5", 350 with sub 5 or right about 5'40",
yeah.
40-yard dashes.
Yeah. I was in Nebraska a few months ago teaching a course, and when I say that they growing big down on the farm, I didn't like really know what that meant until I went to Nebraska and went to gyms in Nebraska, and I was like, holy F, I'm one of the smaller people here.
Yeah.
And I'm not that small.
And we talk about, I'll leave that alone. We talk about like, where do these people come from? All right, so the stereotypical, farmer, we'll say, because they still exist in the Midwest. I know we don't see much of it here, but they are very prevalent in the Midwest. Their dad wasn't going, well, son, we gotta wait till you're 15 years old for you to pick up that hay bale, mm-hmm. because some doctor in some scientific lab somewhere said that you are no longer, no. As soon as you're old enough to you're going to get out there and help out.
Yeah.
So these kids.
I'm doing this by myself?
And yeah, right. That's why I had you 4 kids.
Right.
Let's go.
Yeah.
You're going to pay for yourself by the time you're 10.
Yeah.
So they're out there, doing resistance training, whether they know it or not. But they're picking up heavy things, moving them, and we're not talking under a perfect load where they're seated and we're going to. No, they're picking up hay bales and rotating them up and onto a truck or off of a truck, and
mm-hmm.
doing things that require athletic movements and strength. And their body has somehow figured out a way to adapt to it. It's crazy how the human body adapts to whatever you throw at it. So, and I get into this, I'm like, okay, this is anecdotal, of course, right? But the theory of it still stands true. It's like, if you provide what we're looking for, adversity to the body, resistance, like it's going to have to accommodate
stress.
Stress.
Call stress.
There we go. Stress. We'll call it stress. It's going to have to accommodate or die. Most times they don't die. Most times it does accommodate.
Yeah.
So we have here now. This is also we have to keep in other minds of safety. Is we don't want to overload a body, and this is where like farmers are actually pretty good at this. They're not going to ask their 5-year-old to go pick up the 150-pound bale of hay. No. They're going to wait till they've grown the resistance and the accommodating the muscles that come with it to do that. And
It's
as they go,
the fable, Milos and the
Yes.
Milos and the ox.
with the ox,
Yeah,
correct.
yeah. So as he would pick up the ox, and he would continue to pick up the ox, but as he grew, the ox grew, and they both grew
You
together.
have to accommodate,
They
right?
needed to accommodate it. Yeah.
So this is what I go back to. So we come back to now our pretty little gyms here where we have all these machines and stuff. We're actually safer there under these machines and under a supervisional watch of a decent coach than this farm boy is who's throwing hay. And he all he knows is he's got a truck full of hay he's got to get out before he can head out with his girl later on.
Right. He's going to do it as fast as he can, as sloppily as he can.
Correct.
He doesn't care. Yeah. Uh-huh.
So he's building up their resistance, and you know, do they get hurt? I'm sure sometimes they get hurt, but it's not a thing where like 50% of these kids are having back problems.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, the point of this is at a certain age, I wouldn't say like, I'm not going to say at 2 years old put your kid on a squat bar, but I am going to say first of all they have the best mobility they'll ever have in their life at that point.
Right.
So if they want to pick something up and it's doable, let them pick something up, and then watch them just constantly on their own continuously find something a little bit heavier or a little bit more big, a little bigger, and just go. Okay, so then we fast forward to when we're like 10 or 11 years, 12 years old, and all of a sudden now we want to get better at a sport or whatever. Yes, you've already got the movement patterns. You understand how to move your body. Now let's put some accommodating resistance to increase the durability of the body during those movement patterns. I'm gonna hand it over to you now. What do you say to that?
I think, well, obviously, I completely agree, and I think that people, the goal there was livelihood with farm boys, putting bales of hay,
Paying the bills to keep food on the
right,
table.
exactly. So it's like, well, we got to do it, right? We don't. It's not. It's more of a need and not a want, and that's why I think that is where people have a hard time to kind of wrap their head around it. Like, do we need to do this type of stuff? Do I need to start shrink training and put some sort of barbell on my 8-year-old's back or my 10-year-old's back, or should I have them start training a deadlift at 10 years old? And the answer is, if we can help develop a motor pattern and make them more efficient, so that if they do want to play sports, there's nothing inherently wrong with that, and it can be an advantage once they do get on the athletic field. If we train these movement patterns, and they will have an advantage compared to their counterparts who do not do that.
Right.
And we see that throughout all of athletic levels. So why is there a bad connotation with it, a negative connotation with it, because we're doing it out of for sport, and it's not out of function.
I feel there's a lot of old wives' tales that come around saying that it stunts your growth.
Yeah.
And these other things, and then they go back to the Iowa farm boy.
Yeah, yeah, and well, but there's plenty of evidence now. This beyond anecdotal that weightlifting, whatever, it doesn't matter. Picking things up, putting them down, heavy weights, all that stuff. Then it's not going to stop your growth. There's plenty of evidence out there.
Sorry, your kid just has bad genetics on height. Sorry,
Yeah.
You can't blame the squat
Right.
bar for
Right.
your kid being 5'8".
Yeah,
Sorry.
Yeah, it's yes, exactly. So there is a line, right? Because even though we joked about the teenage farm boy like throwing the bales of hay in the trucks as fast as he can with probably poor mechanics, and over the course of time he can accommodate to it. There is something to be said for we want to really fine tune the motor pattern when we start to introduce these movements, right? So
Absolutely.
in that instance, he is learning on the fly how to do it, and maybe so maybe he'll be okay, maybe he won't. When it comes to weightlifting, I guess there is a purpose of weightlifting of progressive overload, whereas the weight itself stays the same, relatively speaking, for the farm boy. In that instance, when it comes to in the gym, we are trying to, over the course of time, add more weight. So that's probably not to some degree the best recipe for success of learning a proper motor pattern. when I have someone who's in the newer stages of training. I'm not saying we can't push the intensity, but someone, we have a 10-year-old who just learned how to squat last year, and now we're going to try to PR a squat, right? And their knees cave in as soon as they drop into it. Like they're losing their
thoracic extension.
Exactly. They're flexing, they're overarching, or if as they're deadlifting, like they immediately go into they flex their spine more as they're doing it. Again, these aren't necessarily dangerous positions, but we're talking about efficiency and learning motor habits. Probably don't want to continue to reinforce that motor habit with someone who is still in the newer stages of learning the habit.
And we're building a foundation, and if we're trying, like I've said this before, I said this, I think the last podcast we talked about this, you never know where you want to be in life, even at this particular moment. So if you can prepare yourself for all of the available options and you don't take them, so be it. Better than not preparing yourself than wanting to take one. So if we build the foundation for a mansion and build a 2,000 square foot house, you're okay. Build the foundation for a 2,000 square foot house and want a mansion, you're not going to be in a good position.
Yeah.
So where we're at there. And what we talk about here, I have several athletes right now coming in because this is my busy season for off-season training, is I have a lot of high school, middle school athletes coming here, and they're just wanting to get some movement work while they're off their sport. And I start them slow. I say, hey, we're going to learn this movement pattern here, and we're going to perfect it. Then we're going to add some weight to it. And then when I'm teaching you, okay, acceleration versus deceleration, because acceleration means nothing if you can't decelerate in your sports. If you go to load for a baseball swing and you can't get that front foot down, you're just going to slide right through it, no power. So we have to learn, and these are not inherently, these are not things that are just known to.
Yeah.
They have to be taught.
Yeah.
These are body mechanics that need to be taught. This is not something that you just naturally have, like learning how to squat down, this kind of stuff. So yes, we start there, and then that's way more important.
Yeah.
Than putting weight on there.
Yes.
Now, once we've perfected, and I say perfected, but close, the movement pattern for your body type. All right. Now let's see what we can do with a couple of extra pounds on there.
Yeah.
Right. And you're right. You will never see me PR any of my student athletes in here for 1 rep. I usually don't go below 5 reps.
Yeah.
I don't want them to. I want to prove that they can do 5 reps perfectly at a weight.
And it doesn't mean that you're not pushing them.
Oh, I'm pushing the hell out of them.
Right.
I'm just not pushing it to the point where they're
Right.
at their 100% max.
And they're breaking down.
Breaking down, right? Because at that point, it's just like anything else. There's no 100%. You're gonna fail before you hit, because there's never a full max strength. Your form will break down before your strength does.
Yeah.
I don't want the form to break down.
Right. Yeah.
I don't want them. First of all, I don't want them getting hurt. Second of all, I don't want them to learn what that failure is. I don't want them to have that motor path.
Yep.
I don't want nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
I want perfect motor paths. That way, when they're out there on the field playing the sport they are without weights, they can move efficiently.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. No.
And then the same thing for the weightlifter who's not playing a sport. I want them to be able to, every time they put a squat bar on their back, feel comfortable standing up and down with that bar.
Yeah.
Not like, oh man, this is dicey.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you get into the aspect of the mental aspect of sport and weightlifting, and that a good portion of it is up here. The confidence that you have up here, the control that you have up here, and a lot of times that is what is the barrier to progress, is that it has less to do with the physical and more to do with the mental. Because to your point, if you have continued, you continue to try to PR, you continue to fail because your form breaks down, then it turns into more of a, well, I guess I'm never going to get over this, and now there's all these other kind of psychological barriers, and we don't need to still need to add that to the mix.
You already have doubts and stuff whenever you
Right.
do something new to begin with.
You're running the joke that I like to make is, weightlifting is hard enough as it is. We don't need to make it any harder.
Right. So I have to go back to the great Yogi Berra when he said baseball is 90% mental, the other half is physical.
That's up.
There we go.
Yeah.
Right, and so that's exactly what it is, though. He's absolutely correct, though. If you see these guys going into slumps and stuff. They're the same athlete they were. Why are they hitting 100 instead of 300 now?
Right.
The same damn athlete, you know. So there's something there.
Yeah.
Is the pitching that much better in 3 weeks? No, So absolutely, the mental aspect. We want them to leave, especially in my job. So I'm not training sport-specific movements. I'm training gym movements that correlate with sport-specific movements, but we're not doing the actual bat swinging here.
Yeah.
We're not doing the actual, you know, in any type of the shooting, the kind of stuff. So I want them to leave here confident. They left here with a victory,
Yeah.
not leaving here, well, I almost got there.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I don't want that. Every time they leave, we're progressing to the point where they succeed every time. And if that takes a little bit slower, then fine, fine.
Right.
Because they're going to leave here better.
Right. Like this is a marathon, right? We're in this thing for the long game. So, you know, you're not going to get someone from, you know, I'm a bench warmer my senior year, right before my senior year, to, you know, starting an all-state just by, you know, deciding that 3 months before the season, all right, I'm going to start to just try to go as heavy as I can on all these movements that I, you know, am not comfortable with. So you're at that point, because you have a poor motor habit, you're just going to continue to load, put extra stress on the body. It's not really going to be very efficient or productive. And
And then to come full circle, that's when people go, well, this person gets hurt because they overloaded too much. And then they go back, well, my cousin Johnny, he was squatting at 16 years old, hurt his knee, now he can't squat. So this is why you shouldn't let your 15-year-old child exercise with this professional strength coach. Because that makes perfect sense, the correlation.
Yeah.
But that's what happens. This is what the cycle happens here. And then every time that happens, my job becomes harder, your job becomes harder.
Yeah.
And it's like, come on, people. You know, you talk about it all the time. I love what you say here. It is not inherently dangerous.
No. Right.
It can be dangerous under the wrong circumstances or freak, you know, instances.
Yeah.
But if we're talking on an inherent level, combat is inherently dangerous. People shooting at you is inherently dangerous. Yes. Squatting in a natural motor path that your body from day one understands is not.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we need to get rid of that stereotype for all ages.
Yep.
Now the difference is how do we we adjust resistance based on ability, based on motor path skills and kind of stuff, and that has less to do with age than experience and time working with your body.
Right. So
if you start at 3 years old being a gymnast and you understand body mechanics by 5,
right,
you're way ahead of the 7-year-old who has never done anything.
Yeah.
So.
Right. You know, and the difference, like in my world, is that people usually come to see me because of pain, and when it comes to me rehabilitating a youth athlete, personally, I don't have an exact age cutoff. You know, because we'll get people calling for a variety of ages. I prefer that the patient, the youth athlete in this instance, is able to verbally communicate on their own. And so sometimes even with a little help from mom or dad, that's okay. But if they can verbally communicate on their own, then we can go through the rehabilitation process and then the actual kind of progressive strengthening process. Because if the other thing is, if we don't really understand what we're trying to do, you know, or if the person that we're working with can't communicate with us, like what they're feeling, and it's at that point, or they can't communicate an understanding of what we're trying to do, then it makes the process that much harder. So it doesn't mean you can't have your 3-year-old, you know, who can't form full sentences yet, you know, squat with you and play around and stuff like that. Please, by all means, that's you know, I do that with my kids. You know, but if they're having trouble, like if they feel something and they're having trouble communicating that, then that just makes it harder on someone like me. In which case, what I do is I say, hey, listen, the pediatric PT clinic is probably more suited, and they have better means of working with patients who don't have communication skills, because that's they trained in that specialty.
Correct.
Yeah. So, but for our purposes, from a purely orthopedic standpoint, pure kind of sport performance standpoint, communication and understanding is key.
Yeah, and same on my end of it. If I don't know it's hurting you,
Right.
I can't fix it.
Right. So
That's a conversation I have with my clients in general, not just my athletes, but my clients in general.
Yeah.
Hey, you have to check the ego at the door. You have to tell me if this hurts. You have to tell me this is it. you have to know the difference between discomfort and pain.
Mm-hmm.
Pain is unacceptable. Discomfort at certain levels when we're growing is there. Huge,
Yeah.
because that's how people get hurt, and then it comes back on ultimately the trainer. Even though maybe the trainer wasn't maybe at fault, maybe they're doing an exercise that they didn't have any idea was going to be detrimental,
Yeah.
and then when it was, the patient or the client didn't voice that because of whatever reasons, proud, trying to work through it, no pain, no gain, all the other BS that we've been shoved down our throats by high school coaches that didn't know what they were doing. So so same thing on mine. Communication's key, and I put this out there to everybody. I mean, you need to your medical professionals, your personal trainers, your strength coaches, your coaches in general. You have to have a good open communication with them, because if not, it's neither side benefit at that point.
Yeah. That's also a potential instance of why people, blame these things on injury or say they're not safe, is because there's probably a poor understanding or poor communication between the youth athlete and the coach, or in my instance, the clinician. And so that's when it gets a bad rap. And again, so that's why a good understanding needs to be kind of laid out as to what we're doing and what the patient or the client is feeling. So moving into our last kind of probably quick topic and kind of wrapping up, like what do we look for? What is your suggestion, or what do you feel like the key characteristics of a good youth athlete coach are?
Youth athlete coach. All right. I'll say this in general. If within the first 5 minutes, they're not asking about your medical background, your history, any physical issues, this kind of stuff, that's a huge red flag. Stop, walk away. If they're not caring enough to ask about your past to help create your future, then what they've done is they've already decided what they're going to do for you.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that in many aspects, and this is in coaches in general, maybe not just strength coaches or trainers, but in coaches in general. If they're not trying to get know you individually, they've already got a plan for you, whether you like it or not.
I like cookies.
There we go.
I like my cookies to all be the same.
That's right. And if only 30 of you like oatmeal raisin, 30% of you sucks for you. Everybody's getting oatmeal raisin. So no, that's my one and only thing. Really, everybody has their own communication types and stuff, and I don't want to knock anybody. The way I approach things is maybe not the best way for other people, but the big thing is they have to ask about your athletic and medical past to understand where you're at, why you got there, and where you can go from there.
Yeah, it's okay to have a general theory and approach right, but if you don't, then adapt to some individuals, right? And again, we're not talking about, hey, we're all here to practice a certain technique, or sport specific skill. We're not talking about that type of stuff. We're talking about coaches, who are maybe not your sport coaches, but the coaches that you maybe send your kid to help improve speed, agility, coordination.
Yeah.
And so they're going to do certain exercises to help improve that speed, agility, coordination, what have you.
Mm-hmm.
And their job is to progress over the course of time. And so it's to have a general theory or a general outlook is perfectly fine. But if you can't adapt that, I think that's the point you're trying to make. You can't adapt that to the individual kid that walks in your door because you haven't asked about medical history, you haven't gotten to know them, or you feel like your approach is adaptable to all sports. That probably not the best coach for you.
No, and you're right. For example, right now I have 2 sisters right now that are both softball pitchers, but different age groups. So one's throwing a little differently than the other words, and one of them's dealing with a shoulder injury that they're coming off of. Now they're both softball pitchers within the 2 to 3 year age range. Yes, so their plan for the most part is similar because of the sport, but the one with the shoulder injury, I have to be much more cautious of that, because I don't want to. We talked about this. You don't get hurt in the gym. If you're a strength coach and you hurt somebody in the gym, you are wrong. Hurt on the field, it happens. It's part of the game. You don't get hurt in the gym. So my job is to make sure that nothing gets worse at all.
Yeah.
And and I'm very serious about it. I take that very serious. If there's an exercise that there's even just a chance that I don't like, we find another way. So for example, that's exactly what I was saying there. So I have two very similar. They're both pitchers. They're both softball players, but I have to approach them differently because one has different body type. First of all, second of all, there's injuries involved.
Yeah.
That has to play into my programming. Yeah. So, and of course for you on your end of it, of course so ACL repair. All right, there's a protocol for ACL
Pretty
recovery
protocol. Yeah.
But a 70-year-old going through ACL repair versus a 21-year-old football player going through ACL repair.
Right.
They're both ACL repairs, correct? But there's going to be two different types of recovery based on what the desired outcome.
Even if I have two 21-year-olds who are both football players, there might be a difference in terms of how they recover, in terms of their background going into it. Not to go straight too far off topic, but I always encourage people to go through prehab if they're going to have surgery.
You and I did that, yep.
Because the best outcomes after surgery are people who have obtained as much range of motion, mobility, strength as possible leading into the surgery, so that their body recognizes that, okay, once this thing is healed, this is what I had before. It's easier to get that range of motion back. So point being, like if I have two 21-year-old football players who come in, they both had ACL surgery. One of them did prehab, one of them didn't, and lost range of motion because he
sedentary for a month or two.
Right, or for whatever reason. I don't care what the protocol says. I mean, I do, but at some point, I have to work with the person in front of me. So the protocol may call for, hey, we get to do single leg balance work today. You're not.
Not today.
You're still walking in with a limp, and you have to wear your brace because you feel like you might hurt yourself. So we have to modify your training. So so point being, per the protocol, there's the quote unquote same approach that we should take with these people, but I have to adapt for the individual. So if you have a coach or clinician who's not doing that and just hammering through stuff, and regardless, and basically not paying attention to the person in front of them, we say you probably need to find someone else.
And unfortunately, we both have experienced a plethora of those types of clinicians and coaches, and it's why we do our best to educate whoever we're around. Is like, hey, listen, these I'm not going to call names, but these mills, these larger corporations that they don't afford their clinicians the ability, the time and the ability to do so, because it's more based off of how many people we can get in and out versus the treatment. So, and on both sides of our stuff here. So this is why we say, hey, listen, there are other options. And even if it's not us, just go to somebody who asks the right questions, who understands what they're doing. And you can tell, if you just pay attention, you can tell when someone is understanding, when they're asking questions to formulate a plan versus checking a box. Okay, there you go.
Yep.
So just do that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my short answer to that long thing is pay attention, see what you're doing. Don't feel pressured to sign with somebody that you don't feel comfortable with. That's another thing I hear all the time. I was there already. He said, just go ahead and sign up. And no. Walk away if it's need be. Walk away from me if you don't feel comfortable. Please. The last thing I want you here is if you not want to be here. So, yeah. I think that's
I think we're good.
I think it was good. That was great. This is why you're right. I don't say this very often. You're right.
Yes.
To redo some of these topics because
save that whenever. Hey, Jamie, you edit that out and just put that. I just want that on repeat. That'll be my ringtone. Whenever you call me,
you're right.
That'll be my ringtone.
You're right. You're right. And you know what? You know what'll happen? It'll just keep going because you don't answer. Boom.
That's fine. There you go. That's fair.
Anyway,
so what were you saying? You were telling me I was right. Continue. I interrupted.
I changed it. You're wrong. No, but going through these topics that we've addressed before, because we can expand upon them.
Yeah.
And get some more information, and just some newer stuff. Like, it's been a year or two since we've done it. There's constantly new protocols coming out, understanding about how to handle certain athletes in certain situations. And that's the good thing about you and I. We tend to stay educated on the newer topics. We're not resting on our educational and experienced laurels like a lot of people do. So we'll continue to keep readdressing some of these topics that are, some that are higher viewers that people want to see, and then we'll expand upon them. So let's keep doing it.
And if you made it this far in this show, if you have something that you want us to talk about, please comment. Find us on the socials. You can message us. We're happy to talk about it. But yeah, as you can see, we have no trouble filling up time. We just rambled on for about 35 minutes,
Yep.
and here we are. So we're going to shut this thing down.
Correct.
For those people who have to get back to cranking out those TPS reports.
Yeah.
My name is Dr. Gainz. I'm a doctor of physical therapy, owner of Premier Physical Therapy here in Clearwater in Palm Harbor, Florida. We help athletes of any age and ability level get out of pain and get back in the game. Who you is?
Caught me off guard on that one. Yeah, so Donnie Kiernan, the owner of Strength and Performance Institute right here in Clearwater, Florida. I train athletes and every Joe's to be the best person they can be. And like I said, I think we already said it, we're right here in Clearwater, Tampa Bay area. Beautiful here. Love working with the diversity of athletes we have here, and so it's great. And we love doing these podcasts as well. It's part of the fun thing. So we're happy you're here to watch, and if you're watching, in the future, let us know. We're glad you're here to listen and learn. And like Dr. Hayes said, if you have anything you want us to talk about, let us know. You good?
Yeah.
Let's roll it. All right. We'll see you in a couple weeks. Out.
I always like that Whit Whitman character.
What's that?
Whit Whitman?
Oh, Whitman. Yeah. God.
He's not your icon?
No, he's not. Good stuff.